Welcome to another Quick Queries Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. Today is Quick Queries number 42. And what is a Quick Queries video? Well, I take all the questions and answers that I get that don't really need their own whole video, and I put them all together, and this is what we get, Quick Queries. Now, I feel pretty bad that we didn't do Quick Queries yesterday. Usually I do them on Fridays. But on Thursday, I had something come up kind of last minute for Friday, and so Friday I didn't have time to do it, so I did two of the regular videos, the attendance tech help videos, and I said, well, we'll try to do quick queries on Saturday. So this is the first Saturday quick queries. So is it going to be any better than a regular Friday quick query? I don't know. You tell me when we're all done. All right, here we go. First up, today I got an email I received from someone named Larry, if that's your real name. No, I'm just kidding. Larry says, my wife and I are almost 80. Before we leave this world, we would like to offer all of our possessions of value to our nieces and nephews at no charge. That's very, very kind of you, Larry. Can your instruction videos teach us how to create a database with pictures and descriptions and how to share this information with our families so they can choose items that interest them? Yes, absolutely. You could use Microsoft Access for something like this. Complete with photos, descriptions, what you expect the price is. I got lessons and videos that walk you through setting up all the tables and forms and how to put image. Yes, you can do all of this. I got you covered. But this then raises the question of, is this the right tool for the job? Now, Access can do all of this. That's certain. I mean, Access is extremely versatile. It can definitely handle all of this. But is it overkill putting all this in a database or not? If you just simply want to put together a document that shows a picture of the item, a description of the item, what you think its value is, and then send that out to all your family members so that they can, pick and choose what they would like, I would just do this in Microsoft Word, to be honest. I don't really see the need for a database for this, unless you want to make like queries and, okay, this person picked that, and make sure that everybody doesn't pick too many items, and you want to do things to balance it all out. Yeah, okay, then I could see using a database or even a spreadsheet, right? But if literally you just want a catalog of all this stuff, Word is perfectly fine. It all comes down to, do you really need a hammer when what you need is a screwdriver, right? And I know sometimes developers tend to always suggest solutions based on what they know. I see this with consultants all the time. I've dealt with companies that said, well, the last guy that was in here said we needed, an Oracle server and this and that. And I'm like, no, you don't need all that. They're suggesting that because that's what they know. Right? Me personally, for something like this, me personally, I might build a database for this because that's what I do. But if I didn't know Access, I'd probably just do this in a Word document myself. Or even do it online using like an online Word document or online Google Sheets, or not Google Sheets, what are they, Google Docs? Because then you can share the link with that to everybody, and then they can write comments and notes in it like, oh, I'd like this, I want that. No, Tommy, you can't have that, you got this, that kind of stuff. They can chat about it online too. Excuse me. So yes, bottom line, answer your question, yes, you can do this in Access. Access is not necessarily the best vehicle to share this information with, though. You can generate reports in Access and then send those out via email, maybe put them in a PDF. But, there's lots and lots of different ways you can do this. If you want more help, feel free to post this question in the forums on my website, and the moderators and I will do our best to try to point you in the right direction. And, some of them might disagree with me, but that's what I think. Next up, got an email from Vikram, and this isn't just him. I get this a lot. I see this a lot from people, especially on my YouTube forums. It says, why do you always say post questions in the forums on my website, but when I go to your Access forum, it says I can't post unless I'm a member? Can't afford a membership right now. Is there a way to ask questions without joining? Yes, certainly. I do my best to go through the comments on YouTube at least once a week when I'm doing the quick queries, and sometimes I try to answer those here if I can. But I get so many questions, I don't have time to answer them all. So I always tell people, go post in the forums. Now, there's a lot of different forums on my website. Usually the Access forum is where most of the questions get asked. And we get a lot of them in here. And you come down here and start a new conversation. It says only students may post on this page. Okay? Right here, though, it says non-students may post in the visitor forum. So Yes, these forums are generally only available for my members and my paying students. You can still go to the visitor forum and post. Okay? All right, there's some rules you should read. It gives you an option to join if you want, but down here, all right, click here to post in the visitor forum, and here you can post in it. Now, we're a little more careful scrutinizing the questions because I get a ton of spam. You wouldn't believe how much spam we get. And I got bots that kill most of it. But here's where you can ask your question, even if you're not a paid student. And you will see down here that, the moderators and I do our best to help out even non-students, right? One of the reasons I don't just open up the forums to everybody, like I said, I get a lot of spam. And I kind of want this to be a discussion with people who are working with my videos and who are working with Access my way. There's a lot of forums online that are just people of all different walks in life and different ideas and different ways of doing things. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I like my forums to be for people who are working with my videos, my lessons, even my free tech help videos. Because, a lot of people on other forums, they always butt heads on different ways of doing things. And there's usually nothing wrong with that. But even me sometimes when I try to help out in forums, I get, cocky people who are like, well, no, dude, you're supposed to do it this way. I'm like, come on, give me a break. I've been doing this for 30 years. I know what I'm doing. If you don't want to do it my way, that's fine, but don't look for my help if you don't want to take my help, right? So that's one of the reasons why the forums on my website are a little bit more closed off, because I want it to be people who are, working with my materials, basically. And it really does make for a better learning environment, I think, in my opinion. There's not a lot of egos on my website. My moderators and I do our best to help everybody. There's not a lot of people trying to act like they know everything. That's another thing I see on a lot of other forums, is people just trying to act like they're the smartest, and no, you're not. Sorry. And I'm not saying that I am either. I'm not saying that I know everything there is to know about Access. But what I'm saying is I have a specific certain way of teaching things, right? And if you want to learn from me, then this is the way we're going to do it. And if not, that's fine. Go do it your way. Go learn from someone else. But don't come into my house and argue with me, is basically all I'm saying. So, okay? Okay. And that's going to bring me to my next comment that I got on YouTube. Guy named Arthur saying, no offense intended, but usually when people start with no offense intended, or I don't mean any offense, but something offensive is about to be said, right? You naming conventions stink. When you get to VBA, people are going to go crazy. Oh my God, they're going crazy. You are really developing at a privative level, whatever privative is. Primitive, maybe? Is that what you mean? I'm doing this for 18 years. 18 whole years, huh? And naming conventions smooth out VBA coding, man. They smooth it out. I'm amazed you have platinum members. What's a member? I was going to just leave it with what I responded with there, but I felt the need to comment because this shows what's wrong with a lot of forums online and a lot of people who are keyboard warriors. Obviously, like I said, he starts off with no offense intended, which means that offense is absolutely going to be intended. He says, my naming conventions stink and that people are going to go crazy when I get to VBA. Then the flex, right? I've been doing this for 18 years, which is cute. I've been doing this for 30 and teaching it for 20 some years to literally hundreds of thousands of users. Okay? But sure, you tell me how it's done with your 18 years of experience. Now, the way I teach my naming conventions is the way that I have always used them, and I've never had any problems. For me, clarity comes first. Names like first name, order total, customer ID, they're plain English. People know what they mean without needing a legend. To me, beginner-friendly wins. A lot of my students are brand new. They're using Access for the first time. They're programming VBA for the first time. If I start telling them that all their strings have to start with str or their double values have to start with dbl, I'm going to lose half the class before the class even starts. Okay? Hungarian notation is fine if you want to use it, but it's obsolete. It made sense back in the 80s and 90s when your editor gave you no help, but today, Access shows variable types as you go. We have IntelliSense. And Access is pretty smart about automatically typecasting variables themselves. I do use some structure where I think it's necessary. Tables end in T, forms end in F, and so on. And that's to help keep objects organized I like to end my combo boxes in the name combo because you treat them differently in code than you would a simple text string, for example. I have just enough of a consistent naming convention that doesn't turn everything into alphabet soup when you try to read it. You don't need a super rigid naming system if you're consistent. And that's what actually keeps code readable and maintainable. Plus, let's be honest, this isn't NASA here. We're not building Fortune 500 giant database systems. Most Access apps are small business tools. They're not flight control systems. So let's not pretend we're compiling the Mars lander code in VBA, okay? Gatekeeping like this helps no one. Comments like this don't help new developers. They just scare them off. And that's not what I'm here to do. And this is the problem you'll find in most online forums nowadays. I know better than you. What you have to say sucks. Do it my way. You'll never hear me say that. You'll never hear me tell people they have to do things a certain way. Your naming conventions stink. Who do you think you are? I've been helping people online for 20 plus years. And you'll never hear me talk down to someone or say, oh, your code stinks. You don't know what you're doing. I'm amazed you have any followers. Well, you know what? I do. And I'm very appreciative that I do. And I think that most people enjoy watching my videos and enjoy learning from me. And I intend to keep on doing it regardless of what people like you have to say. So if you don't like my naming conventions, don't use them. And if you don't like my videos, don't watch them. Like I said, you know what they say about opinions? Everyone has one and they all stink. And the next time you're going to come at me rolling in here looking all superior, check your spelling and grammar first. All right, moving on. Next up today is another thing that I see a lot, and I feel the need to repeat this. If you're going to post a comment that says it doesn't work, it does work. Did you watch the video? It works in the video, right? I'm not playing tricks. I'm not using special effects to make something work that doesn't work, right? I'm not using Photoshop to change the screens. So if it didn't work for you, then what did you do differently? Okay. First, did you start with a blank new database, or at least my Tech Help blank database that I start most of my videos with, right? I know you're probably trying it in your database. How is your database different from mine? The best way you can learn this stuff, the things that I teach in my videos, is if you start from the same spot I start at, which is my Tech Help video or database, right? And follow every step. Even if you're going to try to apply this to something you're doing that's different, and I know you are. I mean, that's the whole point of learning this stuff, is so you can apply it to your database. The best way to learn, though, is to do my example first, exactly what I show. That's why I tell people in my full course, don't try to apply what you're learning immediately to your database. I know you're going to want to, and that's normal, that's fine, but do the example first. Follow along with me first, build it the way I build it, step by step, so you can see, okay, that's what it's supposed to do. Now you can take what you just learned and apply it to your database. And if it doesn't work in your database, that means something's different. Maybe your table's different. Maybe your query structure's different. Maybe something has changed between your database and mine. So you'll see that it works. You just got to figure out how to get it to work with your database, okay? And also, does not work tells me nothing that I need to help you. What did you do? What did you try? Are you getting an error message? What does not work is meaningless. Okay? Works for me. That's all I can tell you. All right? If you want help, give me some deets. Next up, getting a bunch of comments on my attendance series that I just started on Thursday. And John would like to see how to use a barcode reader to mark present. I'm assuming you're putting barcode tattoos on the backs of all of your students' necks, like in the series Dark Angel. Anybody remember that series from the 90s? Remember with Jessica Alba? I thought it was pretty good. Anyhow, that's probably beyond what I'm going to cover in this series, but I do have a whole seminar on barcoding. In fact, I've got this video, Tech Help video, on printing barcodes. No, not on people's necks, although I guess you could if you had the right printer. Here's a video on scanning barcodes once you have them printed. And this is really just a matter of getting the right scanner. Just get one of those, those keyboard USB type scanners. When you scan a barcode, it just basically is like you're typing in the value into a text box. So you would just need to put the right box on a form, and then when you scan in that box, have it read, DLOOKUP or whoever, what that customer's ID is, a student's ID, and then just mark the box, right? Also, one of my students on the website asked if I could show how to do a leave of absence. So, like if they're gone from January 1st to February 1st, they don't show up on the roster, that kind of thing. We're probably not going to get this complicated with this Tech Help series, but I might make either a more advanced template or a seminar based on the feedback. So if there's a feature that you want to see included in this, let me know. I'll add it to my list. And if enough people are interested, we'll keep going and we'll make it a little more complicated. Shadow Dragon, I'm glad you picked up on my recycling of Tasha Yar. Yeah, that Commander Sayla was pretty cool when they brought her back. I think the whole reason for the way they got her on the show again was kind of cool. Like Tasha's alternate universe doppelganger ended up going back in time into the Prime universe and then became her own daughter. It was cool. I liked it. And I was kind of sad when Tasha Yar left the show. The way they killed her off was really dumb with that big black blob goo. That was the most meaningless death. Well, next to Kirk's. I think Kirk's death was awful in Generations. But I could talk about Star Trek all day. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And see, this is another thing. If you want to chat Star Trek, come to my forums on my website. In my captain's log, we talk about it all the time. I do, for those of you who aren't familiar, I do an almost daily blog entry here called the Captain's Log. And I talk about stuff that's not necessarily access related. Like right now I'm doing a whole series on on logical fallacies. Because you see these kinds of things not only in life, but you see them in business too, and in software development and consulting. I'm trying to do my best also to help the budding consultants out there. Because I know a lot of you who are access developers have to deal with consulting work and dealing with clients. I did for 20 some years. And all these the sunk cost fallacy, the gambler's fallacy, extraordinary claims, special pleading. You see all of these types of logical fallacies in software development and clients who you're building databases for. So I'm trying to teach consultants how to recognize them and how to deal with them. Like the straw man argument, for example. And, common logical fallacies, teach you what it's about. And in almost every one of these, I give a Star Trek example too. That's why you're like, how does this relate to Star Trek? I try to relate it because, believe it or not, a lot of these fallacies show up in Star Trek episodes. It's a great way to teach people these things. And there's my picture of Data with a scarecrow. Data as a scarecrow. Anyways, check out the Captain's Log. It's on my website. I'll put a link down below. Next up, Robert asks, is there a rich tag equivalent to line height? I'm trying to output double-spaced paragraphs, which include fields and calculated values. I've actually had this on my list to make a tech help video for this. There is a line spacing option available for text boxes. You can use it both in forms and in reports. And since you're a member, I'll give you the quickie. If you go into any box, any text box here, whether it's in a form or a report, doesn't matter. Okay, let me get rid of this stuff, and we'll make this bigger so we can see everything that's in there. Okay, if you take a peek, that's what it looks like without any line spacing. But if you go into its properties and find under format, where are you? Line spacing. There you are, right there. Now it's in inches, so it's not like in Word you can specify like 1x, 2x, 3x, right? 1.5x. You can't do that here. All you can specify is an inch setting. So I would go like, and it depends on your font size. I'd go like 0.1, right? 1/10 of an inch. And then it'll look like that. That's about double spaced, right? And that's about the best you can do in Access, right? If you want more control than that, you can always send this to Word, right? And then you can space it however you want in Word, but you could do it in Access just fine. Yeah, you go too much bigger than that, it starts to look silly though. Let's go 0.2. Let's see. What do you got? What do you got for me? Yeah, that's not too bad. You can see the extra space underneath each line. So, yeah, there you go. I got a full video on this coming out a little bit later. I guess, yes, people still do the first comment thing, even in German. Next up, Angela says, I put in a suggestion to Microsoft. Do they ever use these suggestions or care? I do know that they care. I've met some of the guys from the Access team at the last MVP summit, and they do care. They're really good guys. They have their work cut out for them. It's a small team. The Access team is nowhere near the size of some of the other teams, like the guys that work on Excel or Word. So they're doing the best they can with very limited resources. So yes, they care. Yes, they do get the suggestions, but even I send in suggestions sometimes and they don't answer me. So I don't know. as far as more options for conditional formatting, I'm going to say, hell yeah, they need more options for conditional formatting. Lots more options. These are the conditional formatting options in Excel, right? Look at all this, all this stuff, right? And this is what we get in Access. That's it. So, yeah, they could use some love. It really could. I agree with you there. Borders, border colors. You could change some of that stuff with VBA code, but it only works in single forms. You can't do it in a continuous form. I can help you with this last thing, though. It says when we choose a custom color, let us come back to see the RBG code so we can replicate the color in other fields. You can do that now. It's a little bit of digging, though. So let's say I set my first name field to that custom color. First of all, don't use the theme colors. I hate the theme colors. Use the standard colors. And then once you pick a standard color, now you can format paint that onto another field. Just hit Format Painter and drop it there. But if you want to save what that is, right, you can go into, well, first of all, here's the back color. There's the hex code. And you can convert hex to RGB. I've got a function on my website in the code vault that does that. But you can get the RGB codes if you want to. Just go to Format, drop the color box down, go to More Colors. See, there it is right there. See, it's on the Custom tab. See, red, green, blue, and the hex code. You can get that information, you just got to dig a little bit for it. Okay? I'll talk about this stuff in a lot more detail in my colors video. And next up, talking about my on paint video where I mentioned that there's flicker. When you refresh from record to record or you refresh a screen with a lot of records, I don't think it's caused by slow computers. Obviously, slower the computer is, the more that you're going to notice the flicker. But I've even got a fast, relatively new computer, and I even see flicker on this. So it's a combination of a lot of different things. Access isn't really optimized for, doing a lot of fast screen refreshes. So I think it's just the nature of how it is. But yeah, the answer to your question is yes. Slower computers, lots of data, you name it. This comment hits the nail on the head. It says, we always figure out ways to solve something, and then comes an update, which gets the job done in a couple of clicks. Yeah, and I shared a story. That's just the nature of software. I remember years ago, before Access had conditional formatting, like 2000, 2002, one of those versions, I figured out some really nifty, clever ways of doing some basic conditional formatting in a continuous form. And of course, then shortly thereafter, Microsoft adds conditional formatting to Access. So all of that code that I spent a whole weekend writing was completely moot. So yeah, that's just the nature of software. And sometimes you hear that little boop in the background there. That's because I hit the wrong button. I've got voice recognition software that I use for writing, and then I've got my on-off button that I use for video recording, and sometimes I hit the wrong one. They're too close together on my Stream Deck. I need to move them. So sorry. Last week talked about what different versions of Office give you access, and Michael hit the nail on the head. For me, an account that doesn't give me access with it is not worth it. Damn right, you're correct. You don't have access, I don't want it. Now, to my knowledge, the Microsoft 365 family account didn't give access, but see, that's the problem. Microsoft changed this stuff all the time. They're constantly renaming things and changing what's included and what versions, and I don't know. I have a hard time keeping up myself. My general rule of thumb is, if you want access, get the business version. If you can find it in another one, maybe it's a promo or something, that's news to me. I have the business, business edition or something. It's like $8 a month. Well worth it. Next up, I just wanted to share what the Randy commented on my Access Beginner one. It says, the advice of making a database for fun is spot on. The first for fun one I did was way back when I was playing EverQuest. I remember EverQuest. I kept track of what the mobs dropped, where the mobs would spawn, what recipes that were used for, etc. Yeah, this is, and I mentioned this in this video because this is so important when learning something new. Try to make it fun, right? If you got to learn Access for work, okay, I get it, but try to do something that you find fun. I did this stuff when I was a kid, learn how to program and write games and Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and then even later when I started getting into databases, I tried to do something that made it personal, made it so that I would enjoy doing. And then that helps you learn it better. It really does. So don't just think of this as work. And don't just do my examples. Do my examples, of course. But then after you do my example, do something fun in your own database and apply it to something that you like doing. Then do work with it once you've got it down. It becomes less tedious if it's fun first. Thanks for sharing your story, the Randy. Is it the Randy Gurr? Is it a Gurr? The Randy's up again. Happy to see that you use camel case for naming fields. I worked with guys that insisted on using all lowercase letters for names and variables. Yeah, I used this program in C a lot. And in C, you'd use all lowercase. I think they saved constants, or constants were for capitals. But your variables were all in lowercase, so were your procedure names, your functions, and stuff. And that was difficult to read. Now, before all the purists out there send in the comments and complain, yes, I know what I do in Visual Basic isn't technically camel case, okay? Camel case, you leave the first character under lowercase. Can't talk today. And then you capitalize this. It looks like a camel's hump in the middle, right? Okay, I get it. So first name. Technically, what I do is called Pascal case because you used to use this in Pascal. I learned Pascal in high school. And so this is what I use. I call it camel case because I think the camel's head is up where its hump is. So I think this should be called camel case. Maybe this should be called resting camel case. I don't know. And then what you do in C is this. It's called snake case. I don't know why they call it snake case. You'll see this in like JavaScript too. This is my preferred method right here, Pascal case, which I call camel case. And if you don't like it, and you don't like my naming conventions, and you don't like my videos, don't watch them. I'm going to go home and cry now. I like to think of it this way. Camel case is a subset of Pascal case with the first letter not capitalized. Draw a Venn diagram of it. You'll see. You could do it both ways, too. All right, folks. That's going to do it for today. There's your Saturday edition. Quick Queries 42 in the bag. I hope you learned something. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button right now and give me a like. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. And make sure you click that bell icon and select all to receive notifications whenever I post a new video. Do you need help with your Microsoft Access project? Whether you need a tutor, a consultant, or a developer to build something for you, check out my Access Developer Network. It's a directory I put together personally of Access experts who can help with your project. Visit my website to learn more. Any links or other resources that I mentioned in the video can be found in the description text below the video. Just click on that show more link right there. YouTube's pretty good about hiding that, but it's there. Just look for it. Now, if you have not yet tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, tables, all that stuff. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or my YouTube channel. I'll include a link below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? And if you like Level 1, Level 2 is just $1. That's it. And it's free for members of my YouTube channel at any level. Speaking of memberships, if you're interested in joining my channel, you get all kinds of awesome perks. Silver members get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, and there's hundreds of them by now. They also get one free beginner class each month, and yes, those are from my full courses. Gold members get the previous perks plus access to download all of the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos. Plus you get access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions and all kinds of source code that I use. And gold members get one free expert class every month after completing the beginner series. Platinum members get all of the previous perks, plus they get all of my beginner courses, all of them from every subject, and you get one free advanced or developer class every month after finishing the expert series. And you can become a diamond sponsor and have your name listed on the sponsor page on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you next time.